A simple yes or no question, and suddenly everything falls apart. What was supposed to be accountability turned into a moment that exposes something much bigger about power, money, and who government is really working for.
Secretary Bassett, if I'm not mistaken, you were working in the financial service industry during the late 1980s, correct?
I was.
Thank you. And I'm wondering, do you recall or you're knowledgeable of the Keating 5 scandal back then?
Yes, sir. And I will point out that I was.
I don't want to.
No. I will point out that
limited time. I have limited time.
I identified.
The gentleman is from the Secretary. It's the gentleman from New York Times.
So I just want to make sure that everyone knows, who doesn't know, that the Keating 5 scandal involved 5 U.S. senators accused of pressuring the Federal Home Loan Bank Board to expedite and give more consideration to the case of Charles Keating, Jr., who ran the California-based Lincoln Savings and Loans. It led to a 14-month investigation unveiling how 5 U.S. senators and staff ended up with more than $1 million in contributions, 4 trips to the Bahamas, and all expenses paid stays at resort hotels. Following the scandal, the industry saw sweeping regulatory changes that was launched by then-President George H.W. Bush. Now, Mr. Secretary, I'm sure you can agree conflicts of interest and improper influence by U.S. elected officials over bank regulators weaken supervisory independence and ultimately impose massive losses on consumers and taxpayers. I think that we can all agree upon that. And as we know, the basic lessons from the post-Keating reforms still applies today when the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, the OCC, is deciding to get a bank charter. I think we can stimulate that. Now, Mr. Bassett, as our nation's treasurer, I'm sure you also know that a foreign-linked investment firm tied to the United Arab Emirates government quietly bought about half of the Trump family's crypto company, World Liberty Financial. And at the very same time, the President of the United States was dealing with that country on foreign policy. Now, Eric Trump, the president's son and co-founder of World Liberty Financial, said, and I quote, "I'm not going to get into who the investors are, but I've got some pretty meaningful investors," end of quote. Lack of transparency. And it didn't end there. When Trump fans bought the tokens, they thought they were getting the deal of a century. But what they didn't know was that only Trump and his sons had the sole power to decide who can sell the token and when. Today, the price of the token has fallen over 50%, and the Trump fans who bought the token are now begging to get out. Now, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. You can see it for yourself on the World Liberty Financial Discussion Forum yourself, Mr. Secretary. So this is no longer just about a shady crypto deal or a possible gift when a foreign-linked investor is putting hundreds of millions of dollars into a company controlled by the president's family, and at the same time, this president is conducting foreign policy with that country. You know what that causes or creates? It creates a national security concern. So I'm not going to ask much of you, Mr. Secretary. I just want to know whether you will commit today to pause and heighten the scrutiny of any bank charter or licensing application at the OCC connected to the World Liberty Financial until all of these conflicts of interest and foreign influence reviews are completed and shared with the United States Congress. All I need to know is, will you halt it and do a complete investigation and scrutiny of this licensing application? All you have to ask is yes or no.
No, Congressman.
All you have to ask is yes or no.
The OCC is an independent entity, and I would know, Congressman,
I take that as a no.
You traveled to Venezuela
I take that as a no.
On behalf of
your donors.
that as a no.
On behalf of your donors. You do not want to answer that question. I take that as a no.
For a $7 billion.
I'm asking you to do your responsibility as Secretary of the Treasury. You do not.
Mr. Makes, time has expired.
You cannot erase what you did in 2006.
went past your time, Mr. Chairman.
No, and
he did not answer my question, and he went past the time.
He had 6 seconds left to try to answer your question, and
it was a yes or no. It was a yes or no answer. I asked him, will he? No, was that yes or no?
The recognizes
OCC
the
is an
gentleman.
independent-
Stop covering for the president. Stop being his flunky.
Gentlemen.
He's talking to me. I'm responding back to him.
2006 trip to Venezuela.
Stop covering for the president. Don't be a flunky. Work for the American people.
Mr. Meeks,
trip to Venezuela.
Work for the American people. Don't be a cover-up for a mob.
Maybe you're going to see your friend Nicholas Maduro
gentleman
in Brooklyn
is not
prison.
recognized. Mr. Besant, please. I recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Sessions.
What you just watched may look like a chaotic exchange in Congress, but if you slow it down, it reveals something deeply important about how corruption, influence, and accountability actually work in modern politics.
The questioning didn't start randomly. It began with a deliberate reference to the Keating 5 scandal, a moment in American history where powerful elected officials were accused of using their influence to protect financial interests in exchange for perks and contributions. That scandal wasn't just about a few bad actors. It reshaped banking regulations because it exposed what happens when political power interferes with financial oversight. Consumers lost money, trust in institutions collapsed, and the government had to step in to rebuild credibility.